right, anything else that anybody wants to share? Great. With that, I would like to hand it off to Bernie Milan. Introduce himself, Bernie.
Hola, boa tarde. Desculpa, não falo português.
Speak very well.
Somebody said that somebody brought cachaça. But nobody brought
Yeah,
cachaça?
maybe
Later? Okay.
later, no.
So I'm Bernie Milan. I'm part of the, I'm a global lead in our cloud AI go-to-market team. I'm the product engagement manager for, or product engagement lead for what we call generative media. So images, video, music, and speech. And with me is one of our product managers, Tomas Moreno.
Hi, for Imagine VO and Vertex. Happy to be here. Awesome.
Yeah, welcome to California. I know you guys were here last year, a very productive meeting. I know we're at the tail end of the day, so you may be tired. But before I start, I'm going to show a little video by one of my favorite content creators on YouTube. This is an ad for Popcorn.
I tried everything for my depression. Nothing worked.
Every day felt heavy. I felt trapped.
Then I tried Puppermin.
Our prescription helps your body secrete a special pheromone that attracts puppies.
I took the pill before bed, and when I woke up, there he was, the love of my life.
The pill does not target depression directly, but we've found that it's really difficult to be depressed when cute dogs show up at your doorstep.
I used to feel so empty, but now I feel joy and mild concern how a pee stain got on the ceiling.
My puppy listens twice as good as my ex-husband and only climbs into the lap of half as many of my friends.
He chewed up my Bible and pooped in my good chair, but I'm happy for the first time in years.
Looks like a rat, barks like a demon, but he saved my life.
I named him Earl. He follows me everywhere and farts in his sleep, just like my first husband.
Puppermin, for when your therapist says, maybe you should get a dog.
So Puppermin is not real. This was made entirely. It was made entirely out of VO3. The person behind this, his name is PJ Jaturo. He's in Los Angeles and created actually his own AI studio for creatives. And I believe GoPay this morning showed you Kalshi. That whole ad that aired during the NCAA championships on television. He is the brainchild behind that. So it's really upending what we know as, creative these days. So I'm sure I've been discussing this all morning. Generative AI is revolutionizing the way we work. So not only with creative, but also in finance, supply chain, how we see the business, and how we predict some trends moving forward, and how we distill and really understand data. So coming from a cloud perspective, we, along with our friends at Google Ads, are working closer and closer together because of AI. We've had this whole concept of one Google, where you benefit, in partnering with all of us under one Google or one alphabet. So we're seeing a lot of wonderful things happening here. All right. I like to say that because of generative AI, generative media is helping usher a new era of storytelling. This is one of our newest models. It's called reference to video. We take several ingredients, if you will, this young lady, an umbrella, a rainy scene in Seoul, Korea, and it creates this wonderfully dramatic snippet out of AI. There is what we call AI slop out there right now. So if you go on YouTube, you go on LinkedIn, there's a ton of these videos that AI created. Nobody listens anymore. For what we're seeing, it's really the true storytellers, the one that has a point of view, and I think you say it really stands out. A couple of things to point out here. Marketers need 10x more the number of creatives to make a campaign successful. A couple of reasons why. One would be the number of surfaces it has to be, the number of variants there has to be as well. And of course, our new consumers. 71% of consumers expect that the messages they receive are somehow tailor-made to them, somehow personalized to them. And because of this new wave of AI and Gen Z and Gen Alpha, the up-and-coming consumers, they understand AI so well, they know I'd expect all of these things to come. And I think it's our responsibility in this room to meet them where they are. So hopefully we, as our partners at Google, can help you get there as well. There's a couple of reasons why it's not scaling out as fast as we want to. One is the whole perception of IP, intellectual property risks and safety risks as well. One thing that we love about talking about Google is, Google Cloud in particular, is that when you create, your content or upload your data into your Google Cloud instance, it's safe and secure. But that cannot be said for the rest of the AI tools out there. I've heard a lot of cost conversations in the previous session. It is costly sometimes if you're not necessarily trained. There's a lack of quality as well, which leads us to the third reason why. There's a lack of enterprise readiness. I saw on the board earlier, there is teams for education for clients, education for your own team as well. I think that's important that we actually lean in and dedicate some resources, not only to upskill ourselves, but also to upskill our teams with all the new tools that are coming out. And we'll definitely help you get there. I think there's a huge program in the Google Cloud of AI upskilling. So definitely when you go back to your beautiful country, reach out to your Google Cloud counterparts. There are some programs that we can give to you as well that's available to you as clients of ours. All right, you may have seen this earlier, this wheel of creativity. So I like to say that, AI really starts here in the insights and strategy. You gather all this wonderful data from all your campaigns. You do a lot of market research. You understand your customers so well that AI can help you distill all that information and then create, for example, a strategy for 2026 or your next product if you're going to launch or your next campaign. And then go into the creative brief. Hopefully, you're also leveraging AI to get from ideation to the creative brief in such a way that it's fast and also more efficient. And then also content generation using AI to create these wonderful tools, whether it's just truncating the time that you use to go from ideation to the actual production. We have some brands that I work with, for example, L'Oreal and also Unilever, for example, that told me, Bernie, Tomas, we're never going to use AI generated humans in our ads. But it doesn't mean that they don't use AI to help them with storyboarding, like really trying to get to the end result as quick as possible before they then troubleshoot. It also allows you to fail and fail fast in this process. Then you go to campaign activation. Then you collect all the data. You see what's working, what's not working, and you go back into the feedback of the performance that the campaign has done, back into insights and strategy. So we see this as an iterative cycle. And even within the Google owned and operated platforms, there are tools within Google Ads, YouTube, etc., that allow you to optimize as the campaign is going on as well. So we're really trying to infuse AI in everything that we do and make it accessible to all of you. All right. When we talk about generative media, I'm talking about VO3, for video, which is the latest model, Imagine 4, fourth generation of text to image and image to image models, Lyria, which is our text to music model, and Chirp, which is our voice model. Today I'll talk about this really quickly, the 4 models that we have, some creative workflows that we see in application today, and maybe some ideas that some of the holdcos in this room today already have developed. Our friends at BP, for example, at Brand From the Pencil and Omnicom have created some wonderful consumer applications and user solutions. All right, let's talk about model capabilities. This is VO3. I think you saw earlier in the video that it has speech. I think this represents a huge step change in terms of how video models are developed. We are the only video model that has native audio integrated within it. And also some news about video. As of Friday, September 5, we actually reduced our prices to about 60%, which means that you can now go play. I know it's expensive before. Hopefully it's not as expensive anymore today because we reduced the pricing. And the reasoning behind that is twofold. One is we listen to our customers like yourselves. Like it's way too expensive, you know, too much. And the second piece of is very selfish on our part. We want more people to use video because we want the feedback. In order for us to remain ahead of the curve, we want to make sure that we listen and we receive feedback, the good, the bad, the ugly, different cases that we are receiving. In case I didn't make a good job of explaining the capabilities of VO3, I'm going to have my friends at FreeTech give you a sizzle reel that is very fabulous.
Yeah, the beat go.
Oh, can you believe it?
Es perfecto.
We can sing us.
This is absolutely incredible.
Try it now.
Yes, now please. Raise of hands who has tried VO3 and played around with it, made some crazy videos. Awesome, that's a lot of us. I'm Filipino, by the way, so I create these videos in Filipino and pretend that I'm a nurse and send it to my aunties. We call them titas, and they're very entertaining. But anyway, Imagine 4 is our 4th generation of image models. It releases studio-grade, on-brand visuals for every channel. It's very good at text rendering, which I believe was a problem in previous iterations of image models, where it's, say, for example, you could, take ask it to create a scene in a lagoa in Rio, and it would give you that, for example, and a beautiful sidewalk with the black and white curves, what have you. But if you look closely to the streets and the street signs, it's all gibberish. It's not even language. But this particular model is really good at that. Another news in the image model world is Nano Banana. Who has heard of Nano Banana? There you go. So this is a new model that we have through Gemini that went viral about a week and a half ago. And it's really changing the way people use all of our tools. And this is its actual name, by the way. Gemini 2.5 Flash Image. Very boring. I'd rather call it Nano Banana. But a couple of things, right? So the one thing wonderful about this, and this is from our Pixel campaign, is it's very easy for you to take an image of a phone. This is a Pixel 10 and a young lady. And with these are the real prompts, by the way, to really put it in different scenarios and real world images that doesn't really change the aspect ratio of the fidelity of the product itself. So if you see here are the inputs that we have, change the background, and we've got Bar Brooklyn. Then all of a sudden you're changing the POV from a selfie shot to something with a tripod, etc. You can see the character consistency. And that was a big problem that we had before. And what I'm seeing right now, especially in creative circles, is they're using Nano Banana as part of their workflow to create the first frame of the video so that they can then stitch together to create these wonderful vignettes, or even 15 or 30-second spots. It does a lot more. It does photo restoration, for example, here, photo editing, the things that, for example, if you have a real world photograph, for example, for one of your campaigns, you come back to the agency and say, oh, there's somebody in the background you want to erase. Before that would take you, some artistry to remove. Now just ask a prompt to do that. Some creative composition. You take the image of this cute dog, a man standing in front of Brooklyn Bridge, and then you get an image that's really understanding the prompt itself. It's a very smart model that we've created, everything from style transfers to text and images. I think this is really cool. That only this is the actual prompt, and it actually generated this. You understand it's a rock concert with all these wonderful references because it's grounded on Google search data. Here's another one as well, text and images. Like imagine the applications if you are, let's say, a retailer where you already have various sales and you need to put up messaging really quickly in social media about the sale that you have. And we're kind of the impetus of the world, trying to work with them to see how we can really spice up their product development pages, product description pages. Oh, by the way, if you have any questions, please interrupt me at any time. This is your hour with me and Tomas, so we're here to answer your questions. All right, security. I want to talk about this really quickly because I think this is really important. There's a lot of providers out there that do not provide indemnification. So we indemnify you, meaning we take the legal responsibility from our training data all the way to the output. Yes, it's a shared AI responsibility. That, for example, we are deploying tools like SynthID, which is a Google DeepMind technology, where we're able to tell whether an image has been manipulated by AI up to the pixel level, and all of our output has that visible watermark so that people would know, A, it's AI, and you really can keep track of the assets that you put out there. All right, talk about creative workflows. Product asset enrichment. So this is a combination of using Gemini to really take a look at the photograph of the or the image of the product, create some product descriptions, put it in a scene, and create some video on top of it. So with this one image, you can create a lot of things that would enrich the landing page, for example, of all the campaigns that you're currently running. I did this as acronym before I stepped in here. Hopefully this works. A group of bossa nova singers singing English.
Well, it's the latest model from Google, ideal for localizing your content.
All right. Never have an engineer create creative. That's what you get. Now in Portuguese.
Vel é o modelo mais recente do Google, ideal para localizar seu conteúdo.
See, I don't know if that's correct or not. Is that correct? Okay. So this is why you need the human in the loop, because imagine if a Filipino boy is going to creating Brazilian content. No bueno. But this is something that you see a lot that folks are using to leverage video, for example, and there's many wonderful tools to really create content. Imagine you have a set of content that you get, let's say, from headquarters. Let's say for Nestle, which is in Switzerland, and they wanted to localize it to a different market. This is some of the tools that we do. There is no documentation found on the Google Cloud Console because we don't necessarily quote unquote support languages or translation because we don't necessarily understand the cultural nuance of it all. So for example, here in the United States, people speak Spanish sometimes, right? The Mexican-American Spanish is different than the Castilian Spanish from Iberia, and so on and so forth. So we really leave it up to the human in the loop to really to give that last check before we go to production. Other applications, shop the look, for example, you mishmash like clothes, a garment, etc., and put on this model, and before you know it, she's walking the streets in this fantastic outfit that you put together. So, for example, we are the official AI partner of New York Fashion Week. It's launching tomorrow. We have virtual try-on kiosks in all of the main New York Fashion Week team's tent. So we're going to see how this works, and hopefully it works, but it does in terms of the technology. So that's the idea. Character consistency, we do have some techniques that we can share with you. We publish our guides on how to really use these tools to make sure if you're using, let's say, a reference image that the same character is present in any given scenario. Hot in scene. So this is basically taking an image of a product and putting it in different scenes without losing the fidelity of the photo, the dimensions, and even add some lighting to it as well. Lyria 2 is our text to music model. So all the music in the background you hear, this is the technology that they have here. Let me see if I can play some bits of it. So we did this in partnership with our friends at YouTube. With a single prompt, you can create about 30 seconds of uncopyrighted music. It's getting better and better. And then, of course, we are in our next iteration of Lyria is going to be vocal. So you can now actually have real songs being produced with AI, depending on the use case. So, for example, I've seen this use case in retail stores where they create music for the background as people shop. And some of them are actually using Chirp, which is our text-to-speech model. See if I can play some of this up. I can. Where they're using Chirp to create radio assets, like in-store radio assets for in-store radio stations, for example. All right. So in Google Cloud, you log on to Google Cloud Console. There's a ton of knobs and whistles. So we actually created a UI, a user interface, so it'd be very easy for you to access all these models. So this is open sourced, and we can provide you the code for this in case you want to deploy this in your own Google Cloud instance. All right. Some application integrations in the world. So consumer application. I'm going to talk about this really quickly. So you heard of Flow, right? You know that the application we have for budding movie makers. There's Whisk, there's Gemini Advanced. These are consumer applications. The one thing I would caution you, especially if you're using like ChatGPT, Gemini Advanced on your personal devices, those are not protected by enterprise terms of service. So what that really means is whatever you upload there, the data, that particular model learns on itself. And there's a likelihood, for example, that your IP may be leaked out to the public. Enterprise SaaS, we have Pencil here. I know who's for Brand Tech. They created Pencil, Adobe, and Typeface. They're integrating all of our tools into the workflows of all of these platforms. And last but not least is bespoke enterprise solutions. So people like WPP creates an WPP Open, Kraft Heinz created Tastemaker. I'm going to go through that really quickly. I don't know what we did for them. L'Oreal has their own as well, internal platform that we built for them to help them create, a lot of artwork and creative work. Kraft Heinz, really quickly, they came to us asking, like, "Hey, Bernie, how can we think about our rejiggering or recreating our creative workflow process with AI first in mind?" They didn't boil the ocean. They just wanted a snippet of what they're doing at Kraft Heinz. They wanted, for their lower funnel advertising that is currently in-house, they wanted to be more effective. And this is the workflow we helped them build. So for example, from the very beginning, from the brief creation, we use Gemini to ingest all their brand guidelines, as well as campaign data from past campaigns for each of the brands, and really leveraging that knowledge to create the campaign brief, for example. Creative concepts and creative refinement, they use Imagine to really visualize what they do. So some are sketches, some are just collages that they put together to create, for example, a concept, in this case, honey ketchup. And then from here, they use Gemini again to see if this particular image that they created has all ticked all the boxes that they were looking for: desirability, viability, feasibility to the market. And last but not least, once it passed that, they move it then to the creation of said ad. This is what Tastemaker looks like. There's no sound to this, but it is an interface that their marketers are used to. So it's a very interesting UI where you can type in what you want. You can drop the menu, which brand you're working on. You can drag and drop images, and you can generate images from that. It also shows you where it pulled from. This is references in the bottom there. And if you choose one, you can start iterating on what you want to do. And this is what they came up with. Honey ketchup. I don't know what it tastes like, but it's honey ketchup. They created these from video. After the image, they created the video to video. Our models are so smart; it understands physics. It's grounded in real world physics. It understands the cheese is you pull it, looks wonderful. It understands that ketchup is not like water when you pour it out of the bottle. It's a viscous, it's thick. And it understands that there's only 5 fingers when you're dipping your chicken wing into that dip. And then from there, they scaled out all of their and localized their creatives. And this ran on social. So everything from a Texas barbecue to a Los Angeles day game to friends hang out by the beach in Miami. So they really used leverage video to do all of that very quickly. What used to take them 8 weeks to do is now taking them 8 hours. And they're looking to kind of keep that time even better. It saves them money, yes, but I think most importantly for them, I think it's a time to market. There's a lot of things happening on the internet to be able to capitalize on what's happening. You know, there might be a viral moment during, during football season or the US Open tennis, and they want to capitalize on it. This is an easy way for them to do lower funnel work. And for the agencies in the room, if our customers are currently doing this on their own, we should also meet them where they are as well. I think we have an obligation to be even better, especially for their upper funnel work that we are currently working on as well. And that concludes the presentation of generative AI. I know we're only scratching the surface, but I wanted to see if there's any questions you may have for us, anything that you want to know about what's happening. And ask us anything. If I don't know the answer, I will say I don't know the answer. I won't make things up. And also, if you talk to other people and they say that they are an expert in AI, they are lying, because AI changes every day. So nobody is an expert. We're all in a place of learning every single day.
How can we help you use these models quicker? I know that one of the challenges, I think, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the challenges to use these models was how do you get access, or it takes the right place for creatives? Do you use Flow? Do you use what surface do you use? Right? Is that something that has been a challenge for you guys? Just want to get a little bit of
a sense.
Yeah.
Our main challenge is scale, because we are working with big retailers, and there's 50 million products.
Yeah.
So we need to be able to use connections, some API or something, to get scale for the media team and all the assets to work with.
So was the challenge implementing the orchestration, or just getting access to an API?
Getting access to an API, but the infrastructure for that, it needs to be big. We tried with 15,000 cars.
Yeah, I mean, we have the infrastructure and we have access to the APIs, but when we try to scale with some image generation or video generation or editing, doesn't necessarily generate everything, we found some stranger behaviors in the middle of the process. So if it's not truly trustable, so you need someone acting inside the process. So it's not truly scalable as well, because if you need humans to put a lot of hours to verify everything that is being generated, you cannot just. Yeah.
Is this for Meli or?
What? Sorry.
Which
we are working with Meli.
Yeah.
And but this is for Magalu.
Magalu. Okay. Magazine Luisa. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think they also. So the reason why I brought that up is because I think there's only a couple of large retailers down there, and they're big. They're like the Walmart of Latin America. So we're also helping Walmart, for example. They're working really closely with our cloud teams. So challenge our cloud teams. I actually know their account team down there. They're very nice, but challenge them in terms of this is not working, and here's why, and here are the problems we're trying to solve. And then from a product perspective, we're also changing every day, in terms of the capabilities, the accuracy. So if you did this exercise about a few months ago and you're like, you know what, it's kind of not for us, keep coming back to us because it keeps changing. So for example, Nano Banana was released about a week and a half ago. Before that, Mas and I were playing with other tools and trying to sell it, and all of a sudden this came out. I was like, oh, this is much better than those two. Then it's all of a sudden it becomes obsolete. And that's like the nature of AI today. It happens really, really quickly. And my only ask is to keep coming back to us, keep challenging.
Yeah, we're doing this in a global level as well. And what we're trying to do also is like orchestrate a logic of agents to start the process and to verify all the outputs. So it makes everything like easier and a little bit more reliable. But still, like you can't just generate thousands of assets and trust that everything is all right.
Yeah. We have best practices. We have a solutions team that's put together some really best practices, good best practices, not just in, on presentations and docs, but they've actually implemented some of these things. So it's things like QA checks on images, checking whether or not things were rendered correctly, checking whether or not pants and shirts were put correctly on an image edit, checking video outputs as well. So we can
the integration with Google Ads should be really good for us. Like we can create the assets, and already integrating campaigns in Google Ads with some kind of approach for the client or for us as agents to help us a lot in this field.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Keep coming back to us and keep pushing us. Another gap that I see that we can do better as well is, when I said earlier, there's 10x number of creatives being helped by generative media. How do we traffic that? How do we optimize and traffic that as well? So a lot of times, the work of a media planner has become much more complex because now there's a lot more things that she or he needs to think about as to optimize how to traffic it, what surface, what platform. Does it work, for example, on Meta, but doesn't work on Google Ads platform, for example, and why? A lot of the times, like when we optimize our systems and help you do that in Google Cloud, these are things that we can take a look at.
Do you guys have an idea if VO3 will be able to generate longer videos?
Yeah, so we have that on our roadmap. So VO2, you can generate longer videos. You can generate increments of 8 seconds. With VO3, we're going to do the same thing. The only challenge with VO3 is the dialogue, right? So it takes a little bit more computing, but we're bringing that feature.
Yeah.
Right, most likely Q4.
Right now, you add another 8 seconds, another 8 seconds, another 8 seconds to get what you want. Why 8 seconds? Not 5 or 10. I think that's the longest way where it continues fidelity and also the tolerance for latency. People are very impatient, before it gets rendered. But we're seeing a lot of creative work out there where the people are stitching it really well together. It looks very seamless. Stop that in silence. We're thinking about dinner. Any other questions for us? Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you for having the cloud team. I know this is primarily an ads discussion, but I'm very grateful that we have this chance to collaborate with the ads team and really show up as one Google. And they always give us some feedback as well. The challenges, for example, in retail that came to us as well from our ads counterparts. So hopefully we'll continue. And of course, this is the first of many in your education journey. Keep asking us questions. Keep bugging Tammy, for example, and we will make sure that we all get back to you.
Thank you so much.
We almost made it. So really quick, let's do this as a discussion. The last one, what did you take away from this last conversation? What's one thing that you're going to bring home to your teams?
Go ahead, ask, do more, please, produce more.
Right. What we said this in the very beginning, one of the best things you can do as just people is testing these things out at home. Most of these tools are available as consumer tools, so just playing with them will help you understand your capabilities a lot. Obviously, there's competitors' tools too. You can test those out as well, but these are. Anything else?
You have to understand better the workflows, assessments. It was not very clear, but it's something to start to understand better.
Yeah.
Because if not, it's just more people having to do more things and not having a better workflow for them.
Yeah, this is a really interesting point. So, a lot of the processes that you're all using every day are built on technologies that are going to be outdated soon. It's worth thinking about what are the right workflows that we need to set up for the future and maybe try that once or twice to see how it works. And then another thing that's really important, it's VO3, Imagine 4, Lyra 2. Those are version numbers, and it hasn't been that long since the number one, for instance. So if you try this stuff out and something doesn't work, don't think of it as like, this is not working for us, but try it again in 3 months, because it's very possible that things like this change. The example is the Nano Banana thing is consistency was always a really tough challenge in AI image editing, and that's solved now. So if you asked me 2 months ago, can you reliably take a photo of somebody and put them in another context, I would have said that no, that's not possible, but now it's absolutely possible. So it's really important to kind of reinvestigate these tools over and over again. All right. So I have a quick summary for you based on what you gave me earlier. Right over there, we didn't have a lot of time to collect Post-its, but still, I think we got to 6 kind of categories of things that I heard from you throughout the day. Number 1 is team education. So educating your own teams. And you said that basically one of the questions is, how might we build a robust foundation for our AI skills in our teams? So this is a question that you should take home and think about more and try certain things. The other thing is socializing that MIT study that Paul, who's no longer here, but that MIT study that he said, trying to socialize that. Somebody said that. And then more of a mindset shift that the teams look at AI as an enhancer and not a threat. So there's really this amazing opportunity to enhance the human potential you have on the team. So think of it like Gopi made the example of a bicycle, right? Where you can suddenly gain more speed than you would ever be able to gain without that tool. And AI is doing that in all different kinds of fields. How can you get people to understand that mindset that AI can enhance their capabilities? We have an internal team at Google called the Google School for Leaders. They teach our senior-most executives what makes a good leader. And one of the learnings that they shared with us is that mindsets in an organization are way more important than skill sets. You can hire skill sets, you can educate people differently, you can adapt skill sets over time. So that's not a problem. But if you don't have the right mindsets, that becomes a problem, because mindsets are more stubborn or more persistent over time. All right, so that's team education. Number 2, client education. So how can you talk to your clients more effectively? Show them how AI can help grow their business. So that's a really important point, obviously, and kind of more foundational, but how can you talk to your clients about setting up the right measurement infrastructure? So transforming their measurement so they can measure the right outcomes. There's another call out that we hear a lot from agencies, which is there's a enticing, there's a alluring, like the siren call from KPIs that we can measure. So people love to do, direct response stuff because they can show, okay, this is how many clicks we got from that campaign. And that's also probably responsible for the decline in brand building that we saw earlier, because it's harder to measure. So that's just another thing to keep in mind and maybe educate your clients on is that, building a brand is not directly measurable, but there are studies, I forget the name of this famous study from like 10 years ago that's being reevaluated and evaluated, is that yes, you have spikes and you have campaigns in flight that are important, but then you have brand building that can grow your brand over time and make your campaigns more.
Brand economics?
Brand economics, maybe? Very possible.
One of these, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, another one before different economics, which is more popular. But-
Okay, perfect. So, but educating your clients and kind of like keep reiterating that. That was client education. Then transforming the factory floor. So this is related to client education. How are the new ways of working changing how you're set up? And related to that again, the new ecosystem and the new organization that you just mentioned. What was your name again? Sorry. Fernando. Just mentioned workflows. So there are new workflows that are needed. There are new organizational designs that are needed. Silos to be broken down. And one thing that I learned today is that Brazil has a distinct competitive advantage with media and creative not being as separated as in other parts of the world. Use that to your advantage and think about how you can use the lack of silos there to your advantage. And then also related to the ecosystem, how can we all use third-party vendors effectively to scale up something instead of building it in-house right away? All right, and then we have the kind of dark cloud over everything, the growth versus margin debate. Can't take that away from you, but think about how do you navigate this tension? How can we socialize the idea that maybe it's sometimes necessary to sacrifice some profit margin or put a little budget aside to have room for experimentation and trying new things. There's a really interesting question when leadership says no to something. When you try a new strategy and somebody says no because the margins are not there or it's not profitable. It comes from a gentleman called Roger Martin, who's a leading strategy design thinker. And he said that this is the most important question when it comes to strategy design. Does anybody know what the question might be? Everybody's too tired. He said the question that everybody should utilize is what would have to be true? What would have to be true for something to be successful? If somebody tells you, no, this is not going to work, ask them, what would have to be true for it to work? Because it does a couple of things. It reframes something as a possibility. So in their minds, they're now thinking about it being possible. It's kind of a Jedi mind trick. It's a psychological trick. Number two, you can align on the logic with somebody that doesn't agree with you. So if you say AI is going to replace our business in 2 years, and I'm going to say that's not true, we don't agree on that. But if we then discuss a new initiative, and I ask you what would have to be true for this to work, now we can at least agree on the fundamentals behind it, the logic behind it work. And then lastly, by asking what would have to be true for it to work, you now have a hypothesis, so you have something to test. So testing is great, but you also need a good hypothesis. You need a good question that you want to answer with experimentation. And if you ask what would have to be true, somebody says like, well, our customers would have to be willing to pay for this SaaS product. You can say like, all right, let's go out and test it. Let's try it, or let's ask them first in a survey. Let's see what they say. And then you at least have some guiding information. And then lastly, all the way on the left there is the collaboration with Google. So Google and agencies, we have incentives aligned. We both grow if our clients grow. You make money, we make money. So this is a good starting point. And like Rodrigo said, we're interested in solving these client pain points together and work together with Google Brazil to figure out what that means for your money. So that's my summary.
Thank you so much.
All right, my pleasure. Camila Bertoli,
Yeah.
can you?
Can you go, João? João is going to explain a little bit.
Do so.
So,